Hi, I'm Jaime González, aka Habitat Jaime. I'm going to show you how to put together a Google Expeditions so you can showcase some of your favorite places. Now I'm here at one of my favorite places called Linkwood Park. My son plays at this park when it's open. And there's also a community center here where I vote every fall and in special elections. So this is a very special place for me. So I'm going to create a Google Expeditions which showcases this spot and also a place where I run in the morning along Brays Bayou and along part of what's called the Bayou Greenways Initiative, which is a great transformative project that's being done by the Houston Parks Board. So what we're going to try to do first for any Google Expeditions is we got to think about positioning our camera at a place where we can get lots of different points of interest. So interesting things to see and to highlight. And I've selected this spot here because it overlooks the playground area. It overlooks the community center and some beautiful old live oak trees here. On the bayou, I'll select a similar spot that has lots of visual interest for a 360 camera. So we're going to get 360 photography here, and then we're also going to get a soundscape using an audio recorder. Now, if you don't have an audio recorder, you can capture that just on a phone. And that's going to be important because once you combine the imagery and the soundscape, what you're going to get is an immersive experience within Google Expeditions. So our first task is get the 360 photography, then get the soundscape for each site, and then combine them into a Google Expeditions, and then also use them separately in platforms. So we're going to show you how to do all of that on this video here. And we hope that what we can do is over the course of the next few months or a year is create a kind of expeditions for the natural areas of greater Houston Galveston. And wouldn't that be great? So join me on this expedition of learning, and we will show you how to put this all together. Thanks so much. All right, so you're ready to capture that 360 photography, and you're also ready to capture that soundscape. So there are apps that you can use to capture 360 photographs, including the Google Street Maps app. You can also, like I said, use your regular smartphone and use voice memos or something similar to capture soundscapes. Now, it might not capture it in stereo like this recorder that I have here, but it's going to be a much better product if you combine 360 photography and audio of any kind. So I use and this is not an endorsement necessarily of this product, but I use a Ricoh Theta SC model, and it's fairly reasonable in price. When I bought this, it was retailing between $250 and $300. You can see that it's got lenses on both sides, so it can capture a truly panoramic one-shot 360 photograph. If you use an app on your phone to get a 360 photograph, oftentimes what you'll have to do is you'll be instructed by the phone as to how to move the phone around and how to capture that, and then the computer on the phone and on the web will stitch it all together. I'm also using this right here. This is a Zoom H1N recorder, and this retails for about $100 for the unit. I also got from our partners a windscreen, and this is really, really important, particularly in places that are very windy. So if you're going out to the beach, or you're going out to a prairie, or you're going out to an open forest, you're going to need something to kind of deaden some of the wind sound, so as it hits those hard surfaces on the audio recorder, it doesn't mess up your soundscape too much. So I'm going to use a 360 camera and this fairly affordable audio unit. One thing about this audio unit that I will tell you, it's got dual heads here, and that's going to help you create kind of a stereoscopic sound, and that's going to make it fully immersive when you are using those headphones. So if you are going to get a recorder, try to get one with a couple of heads that can record sound as the ears detect them as well. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and take that photograph. Let's take that audio recording, that soundscape, and then we'll move on to the next step, which is combining them into a Google Expeditions. Okay, let's say you don't have a 360 camera. That's okay. We have an affordable option for you. You can use a smartphone, either an Android phone or an iPhone, to capture photospheres or 360 photographs using a free app called Google Street View. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Google Street View app. And when you do that, there's going to be a symbol in the bottom right-hand corner there of a camera. So you're going to click on that, and then you get three options, and you're going to select Take Photo Sphere. Now this is a different way of taking a 360 photograph. With your 360 camera, if you have a 360 camera, it takes one shot at one time. And so if there's any moving vegetation or if there's any moving clouds, it's all kind of taken at one go and it's easier to stitch together. So there could be some stitching errors with this. It's a pretty windy day, but this is real simple. What you do, this is a little bit of a game, and what you want to do is you want to center the orange circles in your white open circle. And this tells you which areas of your 360 photo are still missing. If you look at the check circle, you can see your progress. The orange around that check circle gets more and more complete as you go around. And your goal is to get all of the orange dots. And when that happens, your orange line will turn to green, indicating that you've captured all the blocks that you need in order to make a nice 360 photosphere. So I'm taking all of these, and I try to keep my feet in the same place to avoid kind of moving around with my feet so that I get a better image. And there's a little bit of twisting that happens when you do that, but that's okay. And I'm missing one block somewhere because it hasn't turned green for me. So I'm going to search. There it is. Okay, now my circle has turned into a green check mark with a green outer border, which means that it has everything it needs to make a picture and to put it together. So I look down here. As you can see, there's a progress bar there. So my photo is being magically stitched together by the folks at Google. And once it's done, I can actually look and see what that 360 image looks like. And so I'm just going to give it a second here to load. Here we go. All right, let's see how well this stitched together and see how much stitching error we have, because things were moving around. It's a little bit of a windy day here in spring. So as I look around this 360 image, all things considered, this is a really sharp image with not a lot of stitching error. There's a little stitching error right there. You can even look down to my feet here. You can look around. So at this point, you can do one of three things. You can either use that little mask icon there to allow you to see this in Google Cardboard. You can also publish this to Google Maps. So if somebody wanted to create a 360 image of a site, they could go ahead and hit that up arrow there to publish it to Google Maps. And you can also take this image from the internet and put it into a Google Expeditions. Now, there's a little bit of a workaround in order to do that. So I'm just going to provide a link for you if you want to take that step. So if you're not using a 360 camera and you're doing it on your phone, you'll need to take one additional step to get that 360 image into a Google Expeditions. Okay, let's say that you don't have a 360 camera. There is a little bit of a workaround using the Google Street View app. So what I would suggest is going to YouTube and typing in download Google Street View 360 images. One of the first selections you'll see is this really great video by a teacher up in Canada called Downloading a Google Street View 360 VR Photosphere as a JPEG image for StorySphere. And if you follow this methodology, what you'll be able to see is you'll be able to take a 360 panorama once you've uploaded it through Google Street View, and then take that and upload it to a Google Expeditions. So it's a little bit of a workaround, but if you don't have a 360 camera and don't want to spend the money on that or can't, this is a good workaround. So just go to this video in particular, follow the instructions, and that will be a workaround for not having a 360 camera. And instead, if you're using your phone to create these photospheres using Google Street View. Okay, so you've done two things. You've recorded soundscapes either using your phone or using an audio recorder. You've also taken a 360 image using either a smartphone and the Google Street View app or a 360 camera. And now you're ready to put it all together into a Google Expedition tour. Well, one thing you can do with your soundscapes that I might suggest is that you use something called SoundCloud. SoundCloud is both a desktop feature and an app that you can use to upload what are called tracks or sound files. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and upload a sound file that I took on this journey. And I'm just going to go ahead and click it here. And I'm going to use, let's see, the soundscape that I made for Linkwood Park here. And there's a nice magnolia tree in Linkwood Park, so I'm going to go ahead and use an image here. So it reminds me of that soundscape. Now there's not in terms of genre, there's not a nature alternative, so I'm going to go ahead and put custom and put in nature soundscape. And then you can write a description of your track here and then save it. And once it's saved, what you can then do is you can add it to playlists that you have. And so what I can do is I can come up here and I can go to my playlists, and I have nature soundscapes here. And then what I can do is I can just add that soundscape that I just created. So let's say that you want to create a whole suite of nature soundscapes from your part of the world. You can just continue to add to this this playlist as you go on, and you can edit the playlist for what it looks like and all that stuff. So what I'm going to do as I do this project is I'm going to add soundscapes into a playlist, and that's really great for folks that have who are vision impaired, or people who want to use the power of nature in terms of just the audio and not the video necessarily, to relax and de-stress. And so you can use your soundscapes separately, but you'll also need them for the Google Expedition. So I'm going to go ahead and get to that part now. So what you'll want to do is you want to do a search for Google Tour Creator. And this first piece should come up. It says Tour Creator Google VR, and that's what you want to click on. And I'm going to click on Get Started here. And if you have multiple Google accounts, you want to go to the right one. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the right account. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new tour, which I'm going to call Braeswood Tour. And then I'm going to select an image, and it really won't let you save this until you have an image. So I'm going to go ahead and just select an image from my folder here. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and select just a regular image. And let's see here. This is a good one right here. I'm going to be talking about Linkwood Park momentarily, and I'm going to say a Google Expedition tour of neighborhood. All right, and now I got a descriptor. I'm going to go ahead and create. Now, the way that this is put together, Google Expedition tours are really put together, and they're built around scenes. So scenes you can think of as locations. So you can either add a map like this, or you can upload imagery and other pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and select the upload. We've already taken our 360 image, so I'm going to select that. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add our very first image, which is the Bayou Greenways image that I took earlier. And so you see it seems a little bit weird and stretched, but once you hit Add Scene, what you'll see is that it's perfectly situated in here to allow for 360 viewing. Now, let's say that I want viewers' eyes to be really focused on something as they come into this, this tour. I'm going to hit Set Starting View, and it will allow you to rotate to where you want to start this tour, and then I'm going to hit Save. Now what you want to do is you want to add some features that kind of beef up this tour and make it more interactive. So if you're doing something like making a tour of natural sites in your area, you'll want to put in things that folks might not see otherwise,
references to migratory birds or fish that might be in this local river, some piece of history, or something that they can barely see. So what you can barely see here is a workout area. And I'm going to name that as a point of interest here. And I'm going to call that, I'm going to move this over here, and I'm going to call this workout area. And I'm going to put right here that this is a Harris County workout area. Okay. Now, I want a picture of this because people can't see this in the tour otherwise. So I'm going to go ahead and stick an image here. And I'm going to, let's see here, workout area. All right. And when I add this, what will happen is you'll click back on this icon and you will help to determine how large of an image they'll see when they're in the tour. That's a little bit large. So I'm going to go ahead and use these boxes to right size this a little bit. You can also put narration here. So let's say you wanted to pre-record you talking about that thing. You could add an MP3 audio file for that point of interest. So you can actually be there with the person themselves. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add that. I'm going to title this scene. So this scene I'm going to put Bayou Greenways Trail. And I'm also going to add some ambient audio to make it really immersive, particularly when they're using it in Google Cardboard. So I'm going to go ahead and add ambient audio. Now, just a note, this can't be an MP4 or MPA version, so it needs to be an MP3 format. So you may have to do some conversion of your audio file if you're recording it on your phone, especially an iPhone, which records in a little bit different format. But I've created a soundscape using my recorder right here. So I'm going to add that here, and I'm going to, you can start or stop it, or you can start it at different points. If you don't want to play the whole thing, you can determine that, but I'm just going to add that. And so when people get to this scene in your tour, if they select that they would like to listen to ambient sound, it'll automatically populate with that, and it'll come up and it'll be immersive. They'll see the 360, they'll hear the sound, so it's kind of like being there in a little ways. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another scene, and this is going to be Linkwood Park. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get over here and select our 360 image. I'm going to do the same thing we did for the last scene, and I want to go ahead and set the starting view towards this sign, because I think that's the first thing I'm going to say. So I'm going to add a point of interest here, and I can describe this. Park acquired in 1953. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add my image there. And I'm going to right size it. So I'm going to click on this icon. And that's a little bit large. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in just a little bit. So that's ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and change the name here to Linkwood Park. And now I'm going to add some narration as well. So I made a little bit of a narration for this park. And so right here, Linkwood Park narration. So I'm going to add that. And if you do both the soundscape and narration, both will play, and it really does a good way of kind of balancing out those two things. So you can actually hear somebody talking over that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to publish this tour and make it available on the internet. And you can control kind of the public visibility of this thing. So I'm going to go ahead and just make this public. And then there are certain options that you have, which is really great. First of all, you can copy this link right here, and you can just email it to folks so they can see it on their desktop computer or on their smartphone. Another thing you can do is you can, let me just show you this real quick. you can go down here and you should be able to see. Let me go ahead and publish it one more time. If you view tour, here's the tour. And when you click on a point of interest, the picture pops up and the description pops up. You can like it, but what you can also do here is you can share it. So when you share it, you can share it to Facebook, Twitter, Expeditions, and you can also embed it. So let's say that you want to take this site or this Google Expeditions tour of your place, and you want to embed it into your website. Just hit the embed button there, click on the code, copy the code, and throw it into whatever web development software you're using to embed it into your site. So this can live on your site. It doesn't have to be a separate URL that people go to. So if you want people to be kind of immersed in your site, that is going to be great. Now, if you're watching it on the desktop, what I would suggest is that this gear icon, once you get to the Google Tour, you hit the gear icon and you turn on ambient audio, and you also turn on the narration. And when you go to the next scene, I'd like to welcome you to Lakewood Park. This park was acquired back in 1953 when this neighborhood was being developed. So you'll see that the narration comes on immediately, and so does the soundscape, and it makes it more immersive. So what you can also do once you have these Google Expedition tours available is you can also look at them using Google Cardboard, which allows you to have a really immersive experience, especially if you have headphones on, because what it'll do is it'll split out into two images, kind of like an old stereoscope, and you can actually use this Google Cardboard to really kind of look around.
Okay, one of the things that you'll want to get, if you can, is to get a pair of headphones, maybe noise-canceling headphones if you're going to be doing Google Expeditions using the Google Cardboard, and of course a Google Cardboard. And basically what you're going to do is you're just going to open this up, put your smartphone in here, and then close this up, and it's like an old 3D viewer, and you'll see two optical openings there, and you'll just you'll put your phone inside and you'll be able to see the Google Expeditions from inside. So let me go ahead and show you how that works on the phone, but just pretend like this phone is inside this Google Cardboard viewer. This Google Cardboard viewer, by the way, you can get different models from different companies. The official one's about 15 bucks, but you can get two for 25, and then you can get other brands that work with Expeditions for less money as well. So you got your equipment, you got your Google Expeditions tour all set up. Let me show you what it looks like when you use it on the phone. Okay, now I'm ready to see my Google Expeditions tour on my smartphone using the Google Cardboard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on, first of all, you're going to download the Expeditions app, and then you have to sign in with your Google account. Then I'm going to click on that Expeditions icon, and up pop my tours. So I'm going to actually see a tour that I made for my garden. So I'm going to click on that. And when I do, we'll have several different options. And I'm going to click on View in VR. And it's going to instruct me to put it in my Google Cardboard. So that's exactly what I'm doing. And when I look through here, what I see is there is a lot of options that can be used and controlled with a button on your screen. But no matter where I look, my head follows the picture, and so I can click on points of interest. I can go from scene to scene. It will direct me towards more information, and it makes it a fully immersive experience. And if I select the sound, I can also be hearing the sound at the same time. So this is a really immersive way of looking at a scene where you're not controlling it with the mouse, you're actually controlling it with your head. You can even get a strap for this Google Cardboard viewer. So I suggest that if you're going to be making Google Expeditions tours, get the folks who are going to be looking at these to use a Google Cardboard and some immersive noise-canceling headphones if you can.